Well, this is right at the beginning of the tour. Actually, our guide Gennaro is getting our tickets, but you can see Mount Vesuvius. It's about 7 miles away from Pompeii, and these are some of the ruins. The first part in our tour is the ruins of the Basilica. That's the forum there where court cases were heard, and beyond that it was also a large marketplace, a very large square you can see. And of course later on, when Christianity took hold, they decided to use the exact same shape for their basilica as well. And now I'm going to let our guide Gennaro take over the descriptions.
So we are now in the center of the town of Pompeii. We must consider a town of today. Normally in the center of the town we find a square. Securely around the square we find a church.
This is a good time to interrupt just to point out an interesting fact about Mount Vesuvius. You can see it there in the background. There's the very large Mount Vesuvius and then a lesser mountain off to its right. Of course, in Roman times, before the big eruption, that was all one great big mountain. So if we were able to draw in the outlines, you would see that Vesuvius would be about twice as big as you see it.
City hall, marketplace. So religious, political, commercial center of the town. So this is a Foro Romano from the last Pompeian period. Of course, to appreciate the square, we have to use our imagination and think of it a local 2,000 years ago.
The next step on our tour was the Temple of the Genius of Vespasian. You can see the altar there, and of course the pillars in the temple, and the beautiful frescoes as well. It's at this point in the tour when we get to the most morbidly fascinating feature of Pompeii, the plaster casts of the victim. When they were first excavating Pompeii, they kept finding human bones inside hollow spaces in the ash. Finally, someone realized that after the ash had solidified, the organic part of the bodies had completely decomposed, leaving a hollow space. So they came up with the idea of making a hole into these spaces and injecting plaster. And that way, after the ash was removed, they would have a complete cast of the victim's body. Occasionally, bones will show through the plaster. For example, here you can see some foot bones poking through the cast of the feet. And as we go up the body, you can see that the skull is actually protruding from the back of the plaster mold of the head. Leaving the temple and heading back to the Forum, you can see the Arch of Triumph of the Emperor Tiberius, and a little later on the Arch of Triumph, a smaller one, for the Emperor Caligula. And of course anyone who's ever been to Paris or New York or London can simply recognize those shapes. That was the classic triumphal arch shape that was adopted. As we left the Forum and went on to the part of the city where actual real people lived, we were able to poke into people's houses. One of the houses had this beautiful mosaic right there on the front with an inscription that said "Kame Canis," which in English means "Beware of the dog." Just a few doors down was the wine shop, where the vendor would take terracotta pots filled with wine that had been stored in the ground to keep them cool, and he would put them in the holes there that you see in that ledge. And anyone who came by for the right amount of money could grab a quick cup of white wine or red wine or even spumante, the sparkling wine of the region.